Hey Ram fam, it's time for Ramzone. Here's your host, Cam Allen.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Ramzone. We'll be joined today with none other than head women's tennis coach, Jason Pottoff. Welcome, Coach. It's happy to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And Coach, how's it been going? I know you just got out of fall and you are starting the new season.
Yeah, no, we're off to a pretty good start. The spring season, we're 8-0. Got a first Lone Star Conference match coming up at home this weekend on Friday against A&M Kingsville. So yeah, I mean, still pretty early in the season, still figuring some things out, but really happy with where we're at so far.
And so you just said y'all are 8-0, and y'all have won 2 ranked opponents.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which 2, but I know they were both ranked.
Yeah, Missouri Western and Southern Arkansas were both top 25 when we played them.
What's it like whenever you're getting those top-ranked wins early in the season?
You know, it's nice. I mean, like, obviously, you know, playing against tough competition is important, not only for, you know, to kind of see where your team's at and see what kind of things you got to work on, and you know, helps with the rankings. I mean, I don't care about the rankings too much earlier in the year. I mean, it's nice to have them if you can get them. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly about like kind of seeing how you stack up against the other, you know, strong programs, and you know, been fortunate to get those wins, and hopefully we got some more coming.
And so y'all got to start this year with 3 straight home matches, and then y'all won very handily in those, 6-1 in each of them. And then you go on the road and get 2 close wins. What's it like seeing that kind of switch around to harder matches and still pulling out?
Yeah, you know, we were you know, it was nice getting to start off at home. Yeah. We had good weather, we had good conditions. You know, we were able to get, you know, some pretty straightforward wins, you know, for our first 3, and then went on the road to Edmond, Oklahoma. We ended up playing indoors because it was really cold up there, and got, you know, a good 4-3 win over UCO, who they're always a really top team, and good win over Missouri Western, who was a Sweet 16 team 2 years ago. They're top 25 to start this year. So, and those were both matches where, you know, we didn't get the doubles point, which we usually do, and we didn't play very well in doubles. And we were actually down 3-1 in both of those matches. So really had to dig deep and you know, play, you know, indoors on conditions we're not really familiar with. So for the team to be able to pull those out was huge for us. And then we've been on the road for a decent amount. So happy to be able to come back home this weekend.
And so you said you're getting your first conference match, and it's going to be at home. And what's that like, getting to start conference? I know this is a little earlier than true conference, but getting to start at home. Yeah,
we get Kingsville at home. They're our travel partner. So whoever your conference travel partner team is, you can play them kind of whenever you want. We usually choose to play them, you know, the week before spring break, just to kind of get it out of the way, and then we'll have a away match against Henderson State on Sunday. So we'll go back over to Arkansas. Then we'll go out to Florida for 3 matches over spring break, and then after that we got Lone Star Conference matches, you know, 2 every weekend for the rest of the year. So yeah, excited to get, you know, Lone Star Conference going. I mean, it's a really tough conference. You know, Kingsville is always a really tough opponent. So yeah, we're really excited to be back at home after being on the road for so long. So we're gonna make the most of it.
And so talking about that spring break trip, you're kind of playing around. What did y'all normally get around to for spring break?
So we are going to go out to Orlando, Florida for spring break. You know, it's where a lot of teams will go, because you're typically going to have good weather, and a lot of kind of teams will go out there to be able to play teams that are not from your area, not from your region, not from your conference. You know, just get some exposure to other teams from different areas, and we actually have a really strong spring break schedule this year. We actually had to make some last-minute changes, but we're able to get 2 really good matches on the schedule. We've got, you know, University of Nebraska Kearney, who currently is top 15, and then we're playing Lewis University, school out of Chicago, and then finishing up with Flagler, who is always one of the top teams in the country. They're top 10 in the country right now. So definitely have some really tough tests on the road, and hopefully we, you know, have good weather and a, you know, good experience as a team, and hopefully we can pull out some matches there.
And then talking about tough competition, y'all are sitting at number 15 right now, and one person in your conference, maybe rivals you could call them. I know it goes back and forth with Midwestern.
Midwestern they're really tough. You know, they've only dropped 1 match this year, and it was to bury the number 1 team in the country in the finals of the national indoors. So, you know, Midwestern is they're really strong. You know, we got them 2 years ago. They got us 4-3 on the road at their place last year. So yeah, I mean, they're well coached. They're very talented. They have, three seniors in their top four. They've got some talented, new girls on the team. So yeah, they're going to be tough. And the Lone Star Conference, in general, I mean, at any given time, there's 4 or 5 teams in the top 25, and we've been fortunate to be one of them the last few years. And so yeah, I mean, it's good to be in a conference where you've got good competition, because not only does it it keeps you sharp, and obviously the ultimate goal is to be able to make a deep run in the conference tournament and deep run in the NCAA tournament. So the fact that you got to go through such tough teams to get there, always is always going to be something really good for us, that we have such good competition in conference.
And the conference, it's been growing in a bunch of sports. I don't know if Sol Ross has a tennis team.
Sol Ross does have tennis there, so they are going to be in with us this year. And LCU started their program 3 years ago, and then adding UT Dallas next year. So yeah, the conference is growing, and I mean, anytime you can get guaranteed matches against good teams, where you don't have to travel too far to get them, that's really helpful. So yeah, Lone Star Conference is, I'd say it's one of the, probably top 3 or 4 conferences in tennis every year, and so we're really fortunate to have such good competition.
And that growth in it, how is that going to maybe affect scheduling next year? I know in softball they do just double headers, travel partners right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, it'll add probably another week to the conference schedule. I think that probably during the summer we'll get a better idea of what the Lone Star Conference is going to, how they're going to set it up. If we're going to push the conference tournament back a week, or if they're going to throw in some midweek matches, or what they're going to do. But yeah, I mean, I'm certainly in favor of the conference growing as much as, the conference thinks it needs to grow. And yeah, I mean, I think that, scheduling is always a tough piece. It's tough to get non-conference teams to come out to San Angelo to play us. So any matches we get that are guaranteed from the conference, I think are good for us.
And so talking about all the road trips, y'all travel pretty far early in the season, and you'd like to maybe see that just shorten those trips a bit?
I mean, it is what it is. You got to go where the matches are, and with us, there's only one D2 team in New Mexico, and they're in our conference, so we always play them. There's no D2 tennis teams in Arizona. There's no D2 tennis teams in Louisiana. So I mean, you've got to go where the matches are, and hopefully we play a couple road trips per year to either Arkansas or Oklahoma, and maybe some neutral site matches in Dallas or something like that. So, and then always hopefully get a couple good matches on spring break. So I mean, there's definitely a little bit of science to putting your schedule together. I mean, you want to obviously play matches you can win. You want to play some matches that really challenge you. You want to play matches that help your strength of schedule, for NCAA regional ranking purposes. So, I spend a lot of time in the summer kind of figuring out who we're going to try to play, and kind of like alliances to put together with, coaches from neighboring regions to figure out how you can, get matches against them, every year, every other year. So, yeah, I mean, scheduling is a pretty important piece of it. But I mean, we're just happy to be able to get out there and compete, and hopefully get some good wins.
And you've been getting the good wins so far this year, really rolling. I wanted to talk about your doubles pairing of Eva Schwartz and Avery Durham. They're ranked number 3 right now, and they're playing really well.
They are, yeah. I mean, Eva and Avery finished last year number 10 in the nation, so they were All-Americans. They made it to the national championship match in the fall individual tournament. Lost a close 3-setter. So yeah, I mean, they're number 3 in the nation right now. I mean, they're seniors. Mm-hmm. They have won a lot of matches for us. They've got a lot of experience. They're great teammates. So yeah, man, I hope they can continue to have this success they've had. I mean, certainly there's an element of not pressure, but kind of expectations that you put on yourself. When you're that highly ranked and have had that much success, and they're getting their best shot against every opponent. I mean, if you're a top 5 team, people are gonna want to try to beat you, and so we're getting everyone's best shot. So yeah, I mean, they've been doing well, not only on the court, but because we are such a young team, they and Mika Van de Venter, our other senior, have a lot of experience and knowledge they can give to our younger players, and so yeah, I mean, they're definitely playing a big role for us.
And so what's it like, maybe, do you choose the pairings on those doubles, or do you let them get a little input on who they want to play with?
I definitely do ask, questions, especially when you're putting new teams together. So like, we've got three new doubles teams. Like currently, I'd say our 2, 3, and 4 are all new teams created, from, some returners from last year. But then we've got, 4 true freshmen right now, 2 who just joined us in January. So, when you're recruiting players, you kind of maybe have a thought in your mind like, oh, I think they would maybe be good, pairing up with this player, but you never really know until you put them out there. And sometimes things that look a certain way in practice, they maybe look a little bit different way in competition. So yeah, I mean, like ultimately, I've got to make the call of who's playing with who, but there's definitely a lot that goes into that. Their game styles, their personalities, who you think has a good rapport, who will, help their partner, fight through a tough situation when they're on the court. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and I would love to, put doubles teams together at the beginning of the year and have them have success and stay together for the whole year. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you got to, make little changes here and there, whether with partners or lineup spots. But, we find a way to figure it out. I mean, we work on doubles a lot in practice. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely always kind of trying to figure out how to put our best doubles lineup together.
And talking about how y'all are super young this year, I wanted to look at your other doubles pairing that's played a lot, Raggiotti and Renee.
Yeah.
Is there like maybe concerns when you're throwing 2 freshmen out on a doubles pairing?
We didn't really have a choice this year. I mean, when you got 6, 6 girls who are either freshmen or sophomores, I mean, you're going to have some young teams. So yeah, I mean, Benny and Margot have settled in at 2 for us right now, and then the Jess and MJ have been playing together some, and Elise and Yvette have been playing together some. So. I mean, it's probably a work in progress. I don't know if those doubles teams will stick together for the whole semester. They might. We might make some adjustments here and there. We have a lot of really talented players. I mean, so sometimes it's you've got to figure out how to get people on their right return side and with the right partner and with the the doubles partner who brings the best out of them. And sometimes you think that, oh, this doubles team is going to really, really work for sure because of all these reasons, and then you put them out there and it doesn't work exactly the way you expected it to. But as long as the players have an open mind about who they're paired with and kind of what you're looking for them to do. I mean, we're always gonna really lean on doubles as an important part for us to get the match started. But yeah, I mean, I think we've got a lot of good options to work with.
And then I know we were talking a bit about how y'all are a young team, and I had it written down. Y'all have 3 graduating this year, so not very many based on team. How does that affect your recruiting for this year?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have 3 seniors this year, so on a larger roster, 3 people graduating is nothing, but for us, that's almost 50% of our team. So, I've already got a couple players signed for next year. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'll lose a lot from Eva and Avery and Mika. Not only obviously their on-court performance and the wins they get for us, but just kind of like all the intangibles that they bring to the team and the things that the experience that they can help give to young players. So yeah, I mean, we're certainly going to miss them when they're gone. So we're going to hope to make this season as long as possible to keep them around as long as we can. But yeah, I mean, like the good thing is like if you've got good young players and they they're coachable and they kind of figure out how we do things here. Eventually you'll have a really veteran team down the road where you'll have 4 seniors in 1 year. And so yeah, I mean, they're definitely learning and growing a lot right now. And obviously Eva and Avery and Mika help Adriana and I a lot with kind of growing the team and helping them to mature. And yeah, I mean, I feel really good about where our roster is right now, and I know it's only going to continue to get stronger because we can continue to recruit good players because of all the players who have come before them. So I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now.
So whenever you do have this many leaving, maybe, and you're really young, a lot of freshmen, do you maybe reach in the portal more for more upperclassmen?
I mean, I look for players wherever I can get them. I mean, we're pretty highly international right now, but I recruit the heck out of Texas kids as much as I can. You don't always have the opportunity to get the ones who could really help you. And it's same for the portal. I mean, I talked to probably 50 players who were in the portal last spring and summer, and sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And you really just kind of have to keep your eyes open and once you do see a player who you identify as maybe a good fit for the level of your team, you got to vet them as much as possible on why they're in the portal and what are they looking for that's a change from their current school. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that that we did recruit over the summer, and they ended up at some other school. And sometimes it's like, yeah, I really think they could have helped us, but sometimes they end up somewhere else, and you're like, yeah, it's probably for the best. So, I mean, the portal is definitely something that I look at a lot. But in the end, I think we've been really fortunate to be able to bring in the players that we have and have 2 new true freshmen coming in next year, and I'm really excited about them. So yeah, I think we're in a pretty good spot with recruiting right now.
And then, so I always wondered, how do y'all, not everybody plays every match. How do you usually do, like, figuring out who is going to play that week?
Yeah, so the way college tennis works is you start the match with three doubles matches, and you have your doubles pairings like in ranked order 1, 2, and 3, and then they play against the 1, 2, and 3 from the other team, and then after the doubles, the score is always 1-0. Whichever team wins either all 3 of the doubles or 2 out of the 3 gets 1 point for doubles, and then you play 6 singles matches, and each one of those is worth 1 point. So at the end of the match, the score always adds up to 7. It'd be 7-0 or 6-1 or 5-2 or 4-3 if you play it to completion. And then, so yeah, I mean, the way you put a lineup together, different coaches probably have different philosophies. I mean, the rules of college tennis state that you have to put them, in line in order of ability. But that may be, based on their talent. It may be on their fitness. It may be on their experience. It may be on their, their mental and physical toughness. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can put a lineup together. And then sometimes you put a lineup together and it stays that way for the whole year. Sometimes, especially if you're not getting the wins that you want, you got to change it, pretty frequently to figure out, which order you want them to be in and who you want to be playing. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It's never just like one thing. One thing about, college tennis is I can't make substitutions once the match starts. So like if you put someone out there and they're having a rough day, or if, the opponent they're playing against is a bad matchup for them, I can't call a timeout and switch someone else to play in that spot. Once you put someone out there, that's your person at that spot for the whole match. So one thing is I mean, I got to know what that player is going to do when I put him out there. I've got to, have a lot of trust in them. I've got to know that they're going to be coachable and fight and be able to try some different things if things aren't going their way. So yeah, a lot goes into the lineup, but once you put them out there, I've got full confidence that all the girls on this team are going to fight really hard and be coachable and find ways to pull tough matches out. So, once you put the lineup there, you just kind of switch into, how are we going to get to at least four wins today, to get the total match. And we've had some 6-1 wins this semester. We've had some 4-3 wins this semester. So, I'll take them however we can get them. And, just been really fortunate that the girls have fought really hard for all of our wins so far this year.
So I know you had just said that you can finish the match at 4. How do you decide if, like, with the other coach, y'all just want to continue with the rest of them?
So that it's typically a decision that happens, before the match starts, especially if, one team's got a long travel or if, they're going to have weather issues. Sometimes you'll decide, before the match, like, all right, as soon as some team secures a doubles point with at least 2 out of the 3 doubles, we'll stop right there and go straight into singles. In any like postseason tournaments, like the conference tournament or NCAA tournament, as soon as one team gets to 4, like you stop immediately so the team that's advancing can start preparing for the next day. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll decide before the match with the opposing coach, like, hey, like let's stop as soon as someone gets to 4. Especially early in the season, you're probably more likely to play it out just to give everyone a chance to, to finish their matches and get some experience. So it's just kind of like an individual, like match by match basis. Typically in Lone Star Conference play, unless there's like a threat of like the weather getting bad, we'll finish it all the way out to 7 because that's kind of one of the tiebreakers for conference seeding is the total number of matches won in a team match. So yeah, it's just typically something you work out with the coach beforehand how you're gonna format the match.
And then also I know some players probably have to play both doubles and then move on to singles. How many do y'all normally have do this both?
So it really all depends. I mean, you could have the same 6 girls playing doubles and singles. You could have 6 girls who play, maybe I have 4 that play doubles and not singles, and some that play singles and not doubles. It just kind of all depends. It depends on, maybe if they're maybe a stronger doubles player, maybe they get into doubles and they're not in singles at that time, or players go through, obviously there's illness and injury, so And there's sometimes, just like sometimes a player will get hot and they'll be, kind of feel like almost an automatic win if they're out there. Sometimes players will, struggle with their confidence and maybe go through a losing streak. So, you got to be really flexible. I mean, I got to be flexible with, who I'm going to choose to put out there. I mean, sometimes you want to put someone out there, but it's just not the right time. And the players have to be flexible because they don't always know, who's going to be playing and at what position. And, so everyone has to be ready to be, prepared when their name is called. Because you don't always know, if you're going to be playing that day. And, that's just kind of like the message I constantly tell them. Like, you got to, put everything you can into practice and workouts and everything you're doing, off the court as well, so that you're prepared. Because, when I've got to make a decision, like I want to, have full confidence that my players are ready when I put them out there, and I think they do a good job of that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's the same 6 girls playing. Sometimes it, fluctuates week to week. So, I kind of got to have an eye on, kind of how people are looking on the court and how it feels and kind of ride their momentum, and players have to be ready, whenever their name's called on that day.
And so talking about playing, does maybe playing indoors or outdoors affect who you choose?
A little bit. I mean, like I said, the rules of college tennis state that you've got to, put them in order of ability. But if there's a, certainly like if it's, you're 5 or 6 or you're 6 or 7 and one of them, maybe has more experience playing indoors, or, maybe they grew up in a place where they played a lot more indoor tennis because of the weather. You do have a right to, to make a judgment call there. But yeah, I mean, indoor tennis typically, the points are faster, shorter. The courts are typically faster. The ball doesn't bounce as high. So there's certainly some advantages to players that have a bigger serve or that have a more attacking game that like to get to the net a lot, where they could have an advantage playing indoors. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. But yeah, I mean, like in general, most players are pretty, once they get to this level, they're pretty prepared to play indoors, outdoors, in different conditions. So, but it definitely is a consideration on some matches.
And do you prefer to have the match? I know we talked about it beforehand, but do you prefer outside or inside?
When I was at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, we were almost exclusively indoors because of the weather. And so, I got really comfortable, knowing how, we were going to play, certain ways in doubles, certain ways in singles. I mean, it affects your recruiting if you know that you're going to play a lot of indoors and play against a lot of indoor teams. Like, you may look at a certain type of player from a certain part of the world because they're used to playing indoors all the time. And then, now that we're primarily outdoors, like there's an element of, the fitness, because typically matches are longer and typically hotter weather, especially once you are early in the fall and late in the spring. So, there is a lot that kind of goes into it. I mean, in the end, a player who's, more suited to indoors can still be adaptable to playing outdoors and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, I always prefer to play outside now because that's where we practice the most, and obviously the teams we played indoors this spring definitely had more opportunities to practice indoors than we did. So yeah, there's always a little bit of apprehension when you're going indoors, but fortunately we've handled it pretty well this year.
And then I also wanted to you had talked about the weather sometimes in early fall. What exactly is fall tennis like for y'all?
So in the fall, we really do have a long season. I mean, we can basically start playing competitions in the fall as soon as the second week of classes. Typically in the fall, your tournaments are more about getting experience and figuring out how doubles teams are going to look. And I mean, there are definitely meaningful tournaments in the fall. We have obviously the ITA regionals where you can potentially advance to the ITA Cup like we did this past year. And then a lot of it is, getting the chance to see, players from other teams that you might be playing in the spring, and then just kind of, see how your players, especially the younger players, how they're adjusting to college tennis. So yeah, I mean, there's typically 3 or 4 tournaments you play in the fall, and then, then once you're done playing those tournaments, you just kind of are practicing until typically the end of November, the very beginning of December. And then you kind of shut it down until you get started up again in January. So there are definitely some important events that do happen in the fall and some important growth that the players go through in the fall. But yeah, I mean, the bulk of our season is from the end of January to the end of May, hopefully.
So the seasons are separate there, and I know y'all can recruit and y'all can bring players in January.
Yeah, we can bring players in January, and actually 4 of the girls on the team right now are girls who started in their January semester.
So what's maybe the struggles with bringing in teams like that, and then you're starting the new season almost right away?
Yeah, I mean, when you're bringing in players in January, like there's some good things and some bad things. I mean, the bad thing is they don't have the fall to, kind of get adjusted to, the new environment, to the schedule of, having college classes and training and workouts and traveling for competitions. So, it's helpful to have the fall sometimes for players to, kind of get their feet on the ground and get, their kind of new routine sorted out. And then sometimes it's fine for a player to come in January and start having to play right away because they just kind of get thrown right into competition. So they don't have time to be nervous or worried about things because, I mean, they get here in, second week of January and we're already playing matches, the first week in February. So, just either way, it's fine. I mean, I don't necessarily look to bring players in January, or I don't shy away from bringing players in January. When you find a player that is a good fit for your team, you kind of get them however you can get them. But yeah, I mean, it is always helpful if they can have a fall semester, to kind of get acclimated. But for our girls who have started in January, they've done a really good job of hitting the ground running.
And so I know right before we got started with this today, we were talking a little bit about maybe recruiting. I know a lot of the people y'all bringing in January may be from outside the country. What's that recruiting process like?
Yeah, college tennis is by far the most international of the college sports. Any given year, between D1 and D2, especially, could be 55 to 60% of the student athletes are international, and that's a function of a few things. I mean, one thing is, to be a professional tennis player, it's very, very difficult. At any given time, there are only about 200 tennis players on the planet who are actually making a living, from playing tennis. So, especially at the top D1 levels, I mean, you'll get players who go to college because maybe they're not ready to try the Pro Tour yet, or and then obviously, college tennis being an opportunity to play tennis at a high level and get your college degree. I mean, the U.S. is the only place that you can do that, and so it's a great system. College athletics is to attract like really high level athletes, who are prepared to put in the hard work of being a student at a high level and an athlete at a high level. And so, tennis is a very popular sport in other countries, especially on the women's side. I mean, it's usually the most popular sport, sometimes after soccer or volleyball in certain places. But tennis is very popular, especially in Europe and South America. And so there's a lot of really, really talented players who want to keep their careers going, but maybe aren't, prepared to try the tour yet, or maybe thinking that's not the lifestyle for them, but they do want to continue their career. So yeah, I mean, there's, at any given time, there's thousands of international players who want nothing more than to try to come to the U.S. to play college tennis. So it's a really important element of it. I, still recruit Americans, still recruit Texas kids very heavily. But, when you're getting emails every single week from international kids who are really talented that want nothing more than to come over here, to work hard and represent your team, international recruiting is definitely a big part of it.
And so playing here, I know tennis, they play on a lot of different courts, grass, dirt. Do y'all normally play on just the same one?
Yeah, college tennis is primarily a hard court outdoor sport. Obviously, if the weather dictates it, you can go indoors if you have indoor courts available. But college tennis is almost exclusively a hard court sport. And so in certain countries, I mean, kids definitely will play more on clay, especially in parts of Europe and South America. The courts are very common to be clay courts. So there is a bit of an adjustment when players come over here, having not played on hard courts a lot. Certainly, if you are a high-level international player, you've traveled to different places and played on multiple different surfaces. So, and then if you're going to come play, college tennis in the fall, you probably, that summer before you come to college, you probably try to play on a hard court as much as possible just to get ready. But yeah, that's one thing about bringing international players is obviously they bring their culture, they bring their language, they bring their experience from traveling all over the world. So I think it brings a lot to college tennis.
And Coach, I just want to say, we're going to give you a little bit just to try and get some people to come out to y'all's match this weekend. Just let them know.
Would love that. So we play Texas A&M Kingsville. It's our first Lone Star Conference match of the year. It is this Friday at noon. The match starts with doubles and then rolls into singles right after that. So, you know, we've been fortunate to be undefeated at home for the last 3 years. So we would love for, you know, anyone who wants to come out, whether you're a tennis fan, whether you're an ASU fan. You know, I mean, the girls work really hard, and you know, they love to have as much support out there as possible. So if you're free at noon on Friday, come on out.
And Coach, you're undefeated the last 3 years, an impressive streak you have going there. And y'all have had a great season. Hopefully it gets going this weekend against Texas A&M Kingsville, y'all's travel partner. And Coach, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show this week. I hope you have a great one. Good luck on the rest of your season. Thanks for watching this week, guys. We will be going on next week to interview Coach Barb Odell of women's golf here, and I hope y'all have a good one.